I will do. Hi, everyone. I'm Trixie, aka the Thoughtful Beast. I am here with Giovanni. Do you want to be called your name that's there or your first name? Patangoang. Sorry, I'm talking to Faith.
I don't mind Patangoing or Faith.
Patangoing, Faith. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Edmund. Edmund is still trying to figure out technology because, we all tried to figure that out 2020 and on. Before that, definitely, but 2020 and on is definitely another story. So hopefully he'll be able to join us in a minute. Thank you for joining us if you're joining us now or if you'll be joining us in the future. This will be an artist talk. I'm really excited to talk to these artists. I already have, but I'm excited for you guys at home to hear a little bit more about them. So we're going to start with me just saying what Motions and Emotions is, because not all of you went to that exhibit, and I should take that into consideration. So Motions and Emotions was this event that I did about Filipino American intergenerational trauma. So the three that I have talking today with me are three of the visual artists that went into the New Americans Museum. They were my collaborators for Motions and Emotions. I'm very thankful for them. New Americans is amazing. And yeah, so here we go. Let's start with Giovanni. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what your art was.
Hello, everybody in the interwebs. So I am an actor, a filmmaker, an acting coach, and my art piece was a 1 minute poem slash film slash tiny documentary about the, like the trauma that my family has been through since, generations. you know? Yeah, and I think when Trixie posted the call, she said that I was the first one that entered because I was like, I got this. I'm there. I have the subject matter. So yeah, that's me. Hi everyone.
Let's go over to Faith.
Hi, I'm Faith. I'm a mixed media artist, and when I mean mixed media, it's more of a mess of mediums. Because for the show, I actually submitted two different embroidery pieces, and when I saw the call for art, I think this is it was like my first chance to really uh, showcase something more personal than the other subjects that I usually make for my art.
Nice, awesome. Hopefully, Edmund will be able to join us in a second, and then he can just continue to answer. And I'll kind of go along. I know Giovanni just answered it a little bit, and Faith too. Question originally was, I'm going to let Edmund in real quick. Question originally was, why did you apply to Motions and Emotions? So I guess if you already answered that, going beyond that, and what did you really enjoy about being in an event, an art event that was made specifically for you? Let's start with Giovanni.
For me, it was really about the community. I am such an introvert, and going to any kind of social events, really, I hate it.
Can you guys hear me now?
We can. Yeah. Yay.
Oh, you can. Did you want to go, Edmund, since you're here?
Giovanni, finish your sentence first.
Okay, sorry.
Go for everything.
Okay. Okay, got it. So yeah, the community, I'm like a super introvert, and it takes me a long time to build relationships because I'm awkward all the time. I really am. I'm like awkward, super awkward. So that was my favorite thing, is seeing people that I had met at the San Diego Filipino Film Festival, where I really felt seen as a Filipino artist, and just that there's a space, there's a table for us, our own table, which was huge, because working in the Hollywood industry, it's you're trying to even get a tiny little space at the table, or the crumbs from the table at times. So it was just really awesome to have a space for us where it's no, our stories are important. We are important. Our identity is important. All the things that we go through, even trying to figure out our identity is important. That journey is important. So that was my favorite thing, is like being in a space with people who who I felt like were on the same path.
Yay. Okay, Edmund magically disappeared again, so we're going to go to Faith.
All right. Actually, Giovanni said a lot of my similar like thoughts and feelings regarding the show because again, I don't really do very personal pieces with my art, and so just finding an opportunity to have such intimate thoughts be on display and shared with people that would be understanding and considerate about it was a really rare opportunity for me.
Yay. Okay. So Edmund, we're going to try this. So, because I can still see and hear you. So, Edmund, if you can hear me, please tell us a little bit about the pieces that you entered in Motions and Emotions and why you applied. And then we kind of went to the second question of like, how was it to be in an exhibit that was made for you, for Filipino Americans? Oh, okay. Maybe he is still working on that. He is going to work on that. So we'll see him in a second later. Okay. So while we're waiting for Edmund to figure out some things, I want to ask you guys about intergenerational trauma and art, like more so actually, like specifically. What is it like to keep going after your art, to keep pursuing it, even though this isn't necessarily the careers that like our parents or our grandparents want for us, and knowing that like it is a financially unstable career, so that's very difficult. Let's go ahead, Faith.
All right. Yeah, with my parents, it's definitely like a like unusual path because like many Filipinos, a lot of my family are in the medical field, and uh, so I was actually when I went to college was a biology major with a psych minor, and I actually hid the fact that I changed to an art major like 3 years into my college life. So it and it was only when I actually like had proof that I actually made profit in convention artist alleys that they were like, okay, so I see like you can do something with this, but it's still they still don't see it really like a viable career compared to others just because like with the pandemic I was pretty much nearly out of work. Like most of the stuff was like just doing online commissions, and because I did a lot of at um at location events, so it was definitely difficult during the pandemic. But like they still like appreciate my work, and luckily because I was able to forge my own path. Like my sister is also an artist, and so she was able to go into university, uh, like just as an art major without, trying to be who my parents want to be. So yeah.
I was also a psych major. I was a psych major who turned into a dance major, who turned into a psych major, who turned into a psych and dance major. That's just me. Okay, Giovanni, go.
I wish I had schooling. Like I'm so like in awe of like I feel I have like super like just inferiority complex because I actually didn't go to school. I got into acting in a really weird way. I was in a cult, and part of my escape from the cult was like talking to telemarketers. Like I was like in the wilderness, and then somebody, like, I would try to talk to telemarketers, and they were like, you have a really interesting voice, and that's how I got into voiceovers, because it was just so super random, super random. So like my getting into that whole acting thing was very survival for me. Like I didn't have a plan B on it. And I wish I did, because this industry is so hard. It's like ridiculously hard. But I wonder if I did have a plan B, if I would have still been an actor and filmmaker now. I don't know if that would have happened. I got lost in the question. Trixie, what was the question again? It was like, how did you get into it?
Yeah, how did you get into it, and how did you start? Like, how did you keep persisting through it?
Oh my gosh.
It?
It's because I have a kid, and like when I got into voiceovers, I have to do like a super quick story. Okay, so I was in a cult, and the dude that I was married to quit his job because he felt like Jesus was coming and he needed to be home. So I didn't know what to do. My kid was like 1 at the time, and the telemarketer was like, you have a very interesting voice. You should get into voiceovers. And this is like when the internet was first starting. So I looked up what voiceovers was, and I sent in a really stupid tape to this place called Stars in San Francisco, and they called me in. I went on, they signed me, went on my first audition, and I booked it. And I was like, oh my God, the Lord provided, So, and it's like, I'm not religious now, but like it was true at the time. And so I just kept going because it was, it was the only thing that I knew how to do. Like because of the cult, I quit school. I didn't go to school, and I just kind of had to get better at this voiceover thing. And then when the doors opened to do on camera stuff, I just kind of walked through that. And then to do the teaching stuff, I just did it because I didn't know what else to do. And even during that time, my parents were not supportive of it. They were like, well, it's a long story, lots of trauma. I don't even let's not go there. But yeah, did not have supportive parents. If I did, I probably wouldn't have been in a cult. So there we go. Let's go with that. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And you are all of you know, you're welcome. If you don't want to share certain things, you definitely don't have to. Thank you, Giovanni and Faith, for sharing. Edmund, we're going to come back to you now. So tell us a little bit about your piece, why you applied for Motions and Emotions. What was it like to be in an exhibit that was made for Filipino Americans? And then how did you keep pursuing your art when, art is not like a thing that Filipino children are supposed to do? I know that's a lot, but we're making up for last time. So go ahead and go.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Sorry about that. Some technical difficulties. So for me, or Edmund, my name is Edmund, he, him. I'm currently right in the library of my school right now. I was in the car earlier trying to get the internet to work. Anyways, my work, the work that I displayed was, it's a picture of my grandmother, circa like 1930s. I don't know, for some reason that painting has been something I've been kind of constantly keep going back to. A lot of it has to do with like family ties and family like history, like all the colonial history that's in the Philippines. And my work deals with like the Filipino diaspora. The interesting thing about that painting is that there's like a lot of stories, like from both sides of my family, my grandparents and my grandfather. In some weird way, it's like they are actually relatives. So like, and it's like a story that I've been trying to ask my parents. It's like, but it's something they really like. They don't. I guess like an old Filipino thing. They don't really want to tell certain things they feel embarrassed about, and like they're not afraid to open up and talk about history, and it's something for me, it's important for me to know, like I need to know these things for my art to grow and to figure out who I am as well, my self identity as a Filipino. Um, I applied for the Motions Emotions because like there really isn't any Filipino like art stuff that I think, and it's important. Like Filipinos, we're here too. We exist. It's not just white, black, Hispanic. It's like we're here too, and we've been here for so long. And it's like it's it's time for like us to be represented the right way, and like for Filipinos to be heard and their voices to be heard. And so like this was a great opportunity for me to be in this show. Um, I guess, and I forgot the other questions that you're asking. If you oh man, I can't hear you. Sorry.
It's a me thing. It was a me thing.
Oh, sorry.
I was like, oh yeah.
Okay.
How did you keep pursuing art when, for many Filipino families, like pursuing art isn't a thing because it's not financially stable. Like this is not their American dream.
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of it was my parents were never around, so like they were always they were actually in the Philippines, and I lived here with my sisters, and I always loved to do art. I found it that it was like going to museums and like seeing pictures of white, this white European paintings, and like why can't there be Filipino people, like Filipino faces on those museums? And so that was kind of like my motivation of wanting to do art and to pursue it like in full extent. And like I want to break that cycle of like they always think Filipinos are just here to work for like nursing and stuff like that. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just like we do different things as well. We do performance, like what I'm saying, we sing, we have so much creativity, and I feel like that's important to show and to express. Yeah. I guess that's it.
Yay! We finally get to hear from Edmund. That is very exciting. Here's my follow-up question. This will be for all of you, like always. What would you like to see? I guess here we'll do part 1. No, I'll tell you part 1 and 2 together, and you can answer it how you'd like. So, what would you like to see, one, from the Filipino community in general? What would you like to see? Like, what would progress be for you guys? And what would you like to see happen in our community in terms of art? I will start with Giovanni because her hands are up.
Okay, I would love to see more support of artists and less crab mentality. Like people in the Filipino community do not know how hard it is to be an artist. I have a friend named Jeff who is in the Plane movie, right, with Gerard Butler, right? And it just got banned from the Philippines because in that movie, Filipinos are the bad guys, right? But it was so like amazing to even have the chance to audition for that, but then it's like already cut short, even though like we need the representation however it is. When Joe Coy's movie came out, I heard all this stuff about it's not bad, it's not authentic, it's da 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 da, right? And it's like just the fact that it's out there is something, you know what I mean? Like, and if we can support that, then we get more movies made where they have better representations and not just like villainous representations, you know what I mean? But we need the community support in order to even be at that part. And I feel like right, some parts of the community have been so critical and so like already stopping it before it's even started. That's why I think the emotions and emotions is so important, and like the whole like community building is so important because we need that support. Like we need to be able to make art that is sucky so that we can get better at it. You know what I mean? And we can have more at it. So yeah. Because if you think about it, like white people are allowed to be mediocre and they fail upwards, right? Like we just need more out there so that we can have the chances to, you know, have more excellence, you know, like I don't know if that makes sense. Anyways, I'm gonna pass it on. I'll pass it on.
Let's go to Edmund.
Yeah, I think for me, you know, Filipinos, we Filipinos, like I feel like, we have that thing where they say, bayanihan, right, where we all come together as one. But like I feel we say that, but we really don't mean it in a sense, because like I really don't feel a lot of like Filipinos don't really support artists and like won't buy their art. I feel like it's like something that I don't know, like I feel like we should be more like a community. I guess it's the fact that like being Filipino and then being Filipino American, is like there's this gap in between there, and like I don't know, like I feel like we don't have like that connection. I guess I think what I would like to see is building that connection where just because I speak English, and I'm not Filipino enough, I don't get the same respect as someone who speaks Tagalog fluently. It's like I don't know, like it's cool the fact that that I can jump these two areas and be in that, but like I feel like if we can somehow find a connection and bridge that gap together, and support our artists, be there for artists and like buy their art. I think that's would help the art community grow in the Filipino community. Yes.
Go ahead, Faith.
I think I'll add more to Edmund's point, because like that difference between being like Filipino and Filipino American, like especially like one of the things that I've learned about like looking back at like how I was raised and stuff, just seeing how much like my parents forced my family to really assimilate to the American culture. like like I remember we would used to like talk in Tagalog when I was like in like as a toddler, but then once I had to go to school, they were just like, okay, make sure you know English, make sure like I even go to speech therapy to get the enunciation right. Um and so and it was pushed so hard that like it took me to a long time to realize how much I've lost and never really learned about my culture. Like honestly, like I didn't have cable until I was like 20, and like my mom wanted to get some global channels and she wanted her TFC. So honestly, but once we got that and I got to see like some of the uh like saw some of the TFC shows and the GMA infotainment shows like Jessica Soho, and then seeing like how people are living there, like what their ideals and stuff, and like asking my mom and my relatives about it, like that's when like I actually learned more. And what I like to see more is cuz I'm really into comics. I really like to see more uh personal stories of Filipino Americans. There's some like there was one that I have at my place, that's uh a kid talking to his elder relative about the Marcos regime. And then I have one called Lola, which is more supernatural. And then there's one called Cuento Comics, which is um, a Filipino superhero. But I definitely want to see more come into the industry, since now everyone's going to pulp culture, but it's not just what we see right now with Marvel and DC, but what we can make on our own.
Um, yeah, those are all really good points. I want to say that I do hate the gatekeeping of what is Filipino enough, like, because it's so fucking stupid. And we should know that, because like the history of the Philippines has been like colonization forever and the giving up of our resources to other countries forever, you know, like that's a thing. Like we make it so like the government gets money when we send our people out to other places. Like it's not just America, it's like literally anywhere. It's in Shanghai, it's in Australia, it's anywhere we can get jobs, because our country does not know how to hold on to its people. It sees its people as like resources that they can just trade, right? Instead of like resources as in these are our people and we can make our own country stronger together. And so like that's our history. So like, and I also hate like I didn't speak, I speak English. I actually speak more Japanese and probably Spanish than I speak English, like than Tagalog or anything. Like my parents don't even speak Tagalog, or my mom does, but like I'm Ilocano. So like I don't speak Ilocano, I don't speak Kankanaey. People are like, what the fuck is that? And you know, and when I went to school, like my parents were told don't teach them anything but English. Like we had things going home. Like I was in the Bay Area, so this is the San Francisco Bay Area for me. Like in the 90s, they're like, don't, because you're gonna mess with them. And like now we know that science says like, you know, first 5 is when you really should teach them another language because they'll absorb everything. But yeah, like the gatekeeping is super weird, and like you're not like Filipino enough. It's just like, dude, like the Philippines has its own crisis with what's Filipino. Like look at like TFC and stuff like that. Everyone is lighter than I am by like multiple shades. Like, you know, our identity has been taken. It's been taken over by many like westernized thinking and all these other things. So I really hate when people try to gatekeep what being Filipino is. And I do really wish instead that we would try to bridge that gap, because part of the bridge is the fact that we've all lost so much of our identity. You know, like I'm lucky and I grew up like in the BIBOC, which BIBOC is like an international Igorot like association. Like, so I grew up with some of my culture, but most people don't even have that. Like there are probably Filipinos who probably don't even know that there's more than just Tagalog. Like, because that's a thing. Like the assimilation thing has been very true, but that's about our survival. That's about our own country shipping us out to do work in other countries. Like there's just so much history. So I really hate that. And I do hope that instead of like being like hating on each other, we do build that bridge. And I really feel like naturally that would lead to us just supporting each other more in the arts as well, because the arts is somewhere where people can like, as we saw in Emotions, where people can like address history and difficult things, but it's through like an artistic medium, so it feels like away from you, right? It feels like safe enough because it's not me, or it's me on a screen, so this is different. So it's interesting. Yeah, and I agree with all of you guys. What do you guys do, like, for when you think about being a Filipino artist and you think about like the art that you want to make? What's so weird? Well, this is a general question, but like, what do you do to like figure that out? Not like what keeps you motivated, but like, what did you do to like help yourself, I guess, or cope with all this? Like you're like a Filipino American artist, like living in a really weird and unfortunately more scarier time than right? Like the past several years have been really scary, especially with AAPI hate. Like it's been super scary. So how, I guess, here, let me rephrase the question. Like, how has your art, if it has, helped you cope with the last several years, but also like including intergenerational trauma? Yes, I will go there and I'll start with Faith.
Like, especially during the pandemic, like, it was just surprising how I've found embroidery like the most comforting. And it was like a thing that I used to do because I used to like sew with my aunt who used to be a seamstress when she first came to well, not came to the States, but like came to my hometown. And so like that was the thing that I used to do in my childhood, and then, you know, schooling, and I was actually a musician during high school and stuff, so I did that, and then like then my art studies, but then when the pandemic hit, I just needed something more comforting, and like just creating stuff with thread and needle just seemed like strangely like second nature to me, and it was like it was just weird how natural it came, and like compared to like digital drawing and even just using like my pencils and markers and watercolors, again, like total mess of mixed media, but like somehow I've been able to have the ideas manifest better into the embroidery hoops, and I've even found it more forgiving compared to the other mediums, because like I'm inconsistent and I make a ton of mistakes, but I can always cover it up with something else that's nice and prettier and shinier. So so I've been making use of that, and it's been actually pretty great, like finding something that like allows me to convey my ideas a lot more faster and better.
That's awesome. Let's go to Giovanni.
The question was, how does the art help you in the pandemic? Like, how does it?
How
Yeah,
does it?
right?
Yeah, it's kind of because I said the past several years. Like, how has art helped you cope with the past several
Oh.
years, and or intergenerational trauma?
Okay, and or intergenerational. Okay, I started writing maybe about before the pandemic happened, mainly out of frustration, because there weren't enough roles for Filipinos in the industry. Like, you will honestly, you get grouped into just the generic Asian category, and then you're not East Asian enough, and then they'll try to put you into Latino roles and you're not Latino enough. And I was just getting so frustrated that I'm like, I can't wait for these crumbs at the table, like, in order to make my soul happy. Like, I have to actually start writing stuff. I think there was something that changed in my brain where I would see the stunt guys that I would hang around, and they had no problem putting themselves in like leading roles. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, I could do this. But I always saw myself as like the helper or the, assistant to the something, and that's still very much what I go out for. But writing stuff and filming that stuff gave me a place where it's like, maybe I can have main character energy, and that's still a process, honestly, because I still have a lot of like I can't, like, even in this film that I'm doing right now, where I wrote a feature film based on a Filipino woman who commissioned me to write her love story. When we talked to several distributors about it, they literally asked me to change. They said, "Is there any way that we can make her white?" And I'm like, "It it it takes place in the Philippines, like." And one of the people, the main producers, like literally said, "Oh, like, I've always imagined myself as Marissa Tomei." And I was like, "Oh no, don't open that door. Don't open that door to them, because they will just take it, and they will literally, make it." And it's still up in the air, but it's like, no, I'm trying to as much advocate for keeping it Filipino, but these are the things that you run into in this industry, because there's just not enough value that the world sees, or I don't know who the world is anymore, but the main, whoever powers that be, give to Filipinos or Filipino Americans. So yeah, like, my writing has just been like maybe I can have main character energy. Maybe Filipinos, Filipino stories are valuable, and yeah. But so yeah, it was like sanity, just like being in the industry to start writing and creating films that do tell Filipino stories.
Edmund.
For me, it's funny because like my wife would tell me like, "What are you doing with yourself?" Like, you know, I'd just be working these dead end jobs. Like I would work for 6 months and quit, and it's like, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, going through that job, like I don't know, like I don't really know what I want to do. Like I want to do something in art, but I don't know what it was, until like I went to school at LACC and I met this teacher, Alex, who kind of like was my mentor, and from that point on, she kind of like really sparked something within me, like you have a talent in this thing, like you need to work it and to figure it out. So from there, like I just started doing art, but like I guess for me, getting through that trauma was like the creative research, and the process of how I do my art. So like my work is kind of like mixed media. It's a collage. It's like I put on paper and remove paper. So like the idea of removing that paper, like ripping it, is like that's like me kind of like ripping a part of myself that I don't like about me, in a sense, like the things that I hated within like how Filipino culture was, or the certain things that I disliked, was me removing that and then like putting it back in a different perspective that symbolize who I am. That's kind of like what helped me like build my ideas and like go through my creativity. And a lot of it was just like I really wanted to share like my story and like who I am as a Filipino to others to see. Like a lot of the pictures I have or the paintings I have are about my family, my people I'm close to. A lot of it's like portrait work and figurative. So um, yeah, and just like I said before, like that idea of wanting to show Filipinos in like LACMA, or in like having that body, that image, that just for people to see and to hear our stories. That's kind of like what pushed me to keep going.
That's so nice. I was like, let me repeat what I said on mute. That's so nice. Thank you guys for sharing. We are almost done here, kind of, sort of. And I do want to ask you, like, what would you say to, I don't want to say a younger version of yourself because I feel like that's too loaded. But what would you like to say? You know what I mean? This is real loaded. What would you want to say to like a young Filipino American, like they're an artist with their stories to tell and they want to be seen, but they don't, a lot of us when we're young, because of the whole assimilation thing, we don't know how to speak for ourselves. So what would you like to tell some younger kids who want to be artists, or who just want to tell their own stories, or just want to, what advice would you give them to just be themselves and do what they want to do? I know that's a lot. I'll do like the Jeopardy thing and then I'll pass it on to a new. Don't listen to me. Think about your answer because it's coming to you. Da, 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 da. Let's go with Edmund.
I think for me it would be just like I know it sounds cliche, but like just follow what you believe in. Like I think a lot of it sometimes too is like our families will discourage us and like, what are you doing? Like for me, like I was always told like, what are you gonna do in art? Like you can't really make anything out of that. Like, why don't you be a doctor, or why aren't you going to school for nursing? Like, and that was a big thing with my parents. Like they always wanted me to go. My dad wanted me to go be a pilot, and I'm like, dude, I don't even like flying. I don't even like roller coasters. Why am I gonna fly away? And like, it was always like forced upon me to be something, and like, I think just being a rebel, man, and believing in yourself, honestly, like, especially now, like, now is the time, like it wasn't like before. Like, for example, I used to try to rap too. I used to try to do music, and like, even in that community, like, being a different, like, being Filipino and trying to be a rapper, like, it's still a difficult, like, and it sucks because it's like you said, the gatekeeper thing. Like, there's people that, even if you have the skill and the ability to do it, like, and they, you do, and there's still that person that's going to be like, no, we're not going to allow you to get there yet because we need these people to get, we need other people to before you, and like, it just sucks. And I always kind of like felt that as an artist, and like, it's like, you can't let that stop you. You got to do what you believe, even if it's not, it's not even about the money. It's honestly, it's like what makes you happy inside, what fulfills your life. I think that's the key.
Let's go. Let's go, Giovanni. Yeah, sure.
What would I would tell a younger artist? One is like create your own stories. Don't necessarily you don't need to, like, I wish I would have done that earlier. Is like to create my own stories, to like put yourself and think of yourself in the lead role, even if people don't allow you to be that. You have to create opportunities for yourself. And I think it's important to define what success means for you, because there's a lot of, people that say, if you make X amount of money, that is successful, but like, I don't know, like, I think for me, like, it's been a big thing of like creating more moments of joy is my thing of success. Like, if this scene made people laugh, that's great, even if it's in a freaking cheesy ass movie. Like, that's good. If I had like a really great rehearsal with like a group of talented artists and I enjoyed myself, that is successful. Like, just like, like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I booked 3 commercials this year, and what the fuck for? You're selling commerce to other, you know what I mean? Like, that it's cool and everything, but also there's other metrics of success that I think as artists we need to like be good with. I don't know. Yeah.
Faith.
Well, I think especially like how things are nowadays, like so accessible, and like there's so many ways to reach your goals. And like how Giovanni says, like, you don't have to like aim so high for like whatever standard there is for mainstream success. You can just honestly start small and then build onto it. And it doesn't even have to be like the conventional steps to that goal. Like, there's so many tutorials out there, especially if they want to go into like illustration or even embroidery. There's a lot of stuff out there made by other people that have taught their own ways to share their own techniques. And so, like, boomer talk, kids these days, um they definitely have a lot of really good resources, and it's just trying to find what's there and what's actually available in your local area, because sometimes there are hidden opportunities. Like, say you go to your local library and hey, there's a little tiny poster saying, hey, there's this little like art club or yarn club or something, and you can start there. And like, there will be, and it doesn't matter what level they are, there are people that are willing to help you learn. And, you know, if they're trying to like go and do stuff against, you know, what the parents want, you know, there's ways you can work around that. There's always ways. But it's definitely, there's many ways to go and pursue what you love to do.
Nice. Thank you guys. Okay, so this is your last question. And your last question is basically like, tell us what you're doing next. This is shameless plug time. That's what this is. This is shameless plug time. And I always say that because we really should not be ashamed of plugging ourselves. Like, and it's really hard. Like, I learned this from being at SDFC, because like SDFC is the San Diego Filipino cinema. Like, we don't want to talk about ourselves, and they're like, no, you should talk about yourselves. Tell them that you're a filmmaker. Tell them all the things that you do. And we're like, okay. But it's a good practice because, like, again, we're here, and if we want that representation, we have to represent when the time comes. But it's hard. So let's start with Faye.
So every month I show a piece with, among other artists, at the Mike Hess North Park Brewery, organized by another Trixie.
I just learned of her yesterday, and it tripped me the fuck out. Her name is Trixie Land, right?
Yeah. It's so weird. But she runs a monthly art show there, where local artists can participate and submit pieces around whatever monthly theme there is. And March it's going to be green. So we got that. And then this weekend I will be at the Biz Bass Artist Market, and then also Biz Bass Emo Night Karaoke on Tuesday. Whee!
Let's go, Giovanni.
Okay, so I was supposed to be working on this feature film. Like, we were supposed to start shooting this month, but all things in production are ridiculous. So we just shot like a promo trailer, and hopefully we'll be able to make the feature film at some point in time. But because at some point in time is like, I don't ever know if that's going to happen, but I'm going to put the stuff out there. I'm back to teaching and coaching. So if y'all have any people that want to get into the industry, HollywoodActorsWorkshop.com is my teaching website. A lot of the time, like, I specialize in kids because I look like this, and so like adults don't think that I know what I'm talking about, but I do. It's totally true. You guys don't even know like the bias that I have. Yeah. So if anybody's out there I teach kids from 6 all the way to adults in their like 60s, and 70s is a little bit too, like, I don't think I've ever taught anybody in their 70s, but like 6 to 60 is my general age-ish range that I teach. And then I am raising funds for my documentary called Motherland. So, I'm trying to do like a personal documentary about like the whole intergenerational trauma and World War II and the cult stuff. And I'm going to try to make it funny, y'all. So I need funds for that. So if there are any like producers out there, or just like successful Filipino people that have money that want to invest in a funny / traumatic / documentary, hit me up. Thank you. And that's it.
Okay, let's go to Edmund.
Man, I really don't have anything exciting as of now. I've been focusing on working on my series. It's titled "Don't Matter How, Just as Long as We Get There." So a lot of my work a lot of my time has been focusing on this series. But I am doing a lot of Filipino American art show. Well, I did 2 recently, Tambayan 1 and Tumbayan Volume 2. So the third one, I'm hoping to get it in the Bay. That's like the goal. I've been trying to talk to Good Mother Gallery, and I wanted to do a show out there to get artists out there and to build a community in the Bay as well. But that's practically it. I haven't really been doing anything exciting. I've been kind of like the rabbit in the hole these past months, man. Just being to myself and trying to work on this series.
That's just part of it, though. Sometimes you just go into a little hole, so you're like, I need to finish this work. People are gonna be a hella mad because I haven't finished this work. So I'm really excited to see what the series is going to be. Also, everyone look at Edmund's website because his art is super freaking cool. There's so much on there. Okay, shameless plug for me. What is it? Is it February? Okay. For me personally, Trixie. The person Trixie. I dance for Visionary Dance Theater in La Mesa, and we're having our show at the last weekend of March, first weekend of April. So you'll see me dancing in that. Monthly things that I do with the Phil-Am Film Collective. I'm one of the co-founders of the Phil-Am Film Collective. Every second Monday of the month, except for March is the 3rd because of scheduling conflicts. So the next 3rd Monday of the month, we're having our play space. So play space, especially if you're in San Diego, if you guys are ever in San Diego, like please come by. Play space is a place for AAPI, the AAPI community, and it's led by AAPI artists. It's free. We're just coming together, and it's about just doing like creative things and having community. It's not about producing anything. I think next month we're beginning ukulele because someone has that many ukuleles. So like it's just a place for us, like we share what we have and we're just artistic together, and it's really nice and chill, and everyone's really nice. Also, I want to say that we do that with the United AAPI Artists, and Diversionary Theater is a sponsor for our space. And then I also want to say for TFFC, we're having the AAPI Actors Studio. So if you want to just like be an actor with other AAPI people and like work on your skills and stuff, like in San Diego, like please join us. And I think I bet you there's more, but I honestly can't think of anything else. So that is me for now. I want to say thank you to Edmund, Faith, and Giovanni for being on here with me today during this like really crazy talk where some of my questions are weird and don't make sense, but you still answer them. So I'm very like appreciative of that. And I want to say thank you guys for really being like a part of the exhibit. Like it's been so beautiful to hear from all of you guys and to see your work. And to be like a part of your story in that way, like for me is like really nice. Like I'm glad I get to know you all, and I get to like, you know, hopefully this is just the beginning of something. Like, and I really do mean that. Stay in touch if you ever want to collaborate. We're not that far from each other. We all drive. It's fine. But yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you to the people who are watching this now. Thank you to the people who will be watching this in the future, and we will see you next time. Bye.